Hello and welcome to Arsenal Analysed. I'm JC. I hope everyone is doing well. I have an excellent panel joining me today for the very first episode in hopefully a new long series on the channel. And joining me initially is Keith from Mostly Arsenal. How are we doing today, my friend?
All right, mate. I'll just wipe my tears. I've been crying my eyes out after the Lionesses beat Germany. It was like just a mad, emotional game. But other than that, yeah, cool. I've been working too hard and, daddy daycare this weekend because my missus went away. So I'm absolutely knackered, but she's back now. All good. Thanks for having me on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. And joining us from quite literally the other side of the planet, Scott. How are we doing this evening or this morning in your case?
Yeah, good morning, fellas. Nice to be here. Congratulations on the result too. That's huge for you guys. And couldn't have picked someone to beat in a final other than Germany, right? So glad to see you guys all buzzing. And nice to join you all the way from down under.
Brilliant. It's been a pleasure, actually. It's been a long while since we linked up. I think the last time was back in January, and we were talking Vlahovic. That turned out quite well, didn't it? So,
Tell you what,
and then my brother.
There went a whole hour, hey?
Yes, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And my brother from another mother, Albert. How are we doing this evening, my friend?
Yeah, man. It's I'm on a high, as Keith mentioned. It's been it's been emotional. We're checking the phone, man, and people are in tears, man. They're sort of get back to me later. Like, it's massive. This is huge. For someone like myself who's followed England women's football for many a year, many good trailblazers that have played for the England Lionesses over the years, but to come round to this for a home tournament and to win and to beat Germany in the final, this is a massive legacy. This is incredible. So I might be a bit all over the place with some of my answers, but I'll be all right. I'll be fine. But no, it's been an amazing day, man. Seriously, amazing.
No, well, it's to be expected. I know you cover the women's game quite thoroughly over on your channel, and I'm sure you've got some content coming up that you can share with everyone before we shut the show off. But just diving straight into things, let's not waste any time for any of the viewers that are watching. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Arsenal fans, England fans, from wherever you are, much appreciated. Go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here. And the gentlemen on the screen have all got their own channels, which they'll plug at the end of the show. But we're going to start off with a nice, easy, simple question. Coming to you first, Keith. Real straightforward. There's obviously a month to go. We'll get into that in just a moment. But how happy are you with Arsenal's window so far?
8 out of 10. I'm actually really happy with the transfer window. We've still got some we need to get rid of. But the business we've done so far, I think, has been absolutely top draw. And they're intelligent players. They've all got high footballing IQs. I know we'll probably go into it a little bit later, but the one I'm most impressed with is Zinchenko. But I'll waffle on about that later. I know the media will make a massive deal about how much we've spent again, because that's absolutely brilliant. Potentially we could maybe do with another defensive midfielder perhaps, but I think that's kind of where Zinchenko comes in as well. So I'll chat about that later. But no, I'm really happy with it. Absolutely stoked. Good.
And Scott, what are your general thoughts?
Yeah, I'm about a 6 out of 10. I think the incoming so far have been really good. I'm still concerned that we've got a lot of players who need to be out of the club, but nothing seems to have happened. For example, someone like Torreira, you can tell that relationship's untenable. You can tell he doesn't want to be here. Arteta doesn't want him here. Let's just make something happen. Let's just get them players out. But on the flip side, I do still think that the squad is a little bit thin in some key areas, and a couple of injuries could really set us back. So at the moment, really happy with who's come in. I think we've made really good signings. I'd just like a couple more.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. I think 2 more signings, and I think we're in a really strong place next year. And for me personally, that would be a central midfield player and a right winger. Although we do have players in those positions, I think it's that quality in depth that we need. Coming to you next, Albert. What are your general thoughts? You saw me sort of flash up on the screen who we've brought in, and then I think it was 8 or 9 players that haven't quite left yet, but they're supposedly being linked with moves away.
Oh, I think you're on mute, Albert.
I thought I took myself. Sorry, apologies, Jason.
Too much celebrating, mate.
It is. Keith Scott, I'm rattled, but I am. But no, you know what, JC? For me personally, you see the Matt Turner one. We knew he was coming, so I don't class that. If I'm being honest, I don't.
Yeah,
but it's true. We knew he was coming. So for me, it's 4 signings. So I won't be happy, and I said this quite vocally, privately, publicly, whatever. If I don't want to go into the season with the same midfield as last season, I don't want any Arsenal fan to sit there and tell me that the midfield's good enough, because they're not. If you're telling me that, then you're doing it on purely based on sentiment because you like the player. That's not good enough. We need to get more players in. In terms of the outgoings, quickly, JC, Arsenal, it's a weird one, isn't it? We cannot seem to get rid of these players. I don't care if we get a pittance for them. Just get them gone.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, Torreira's a good example. Why is he still here? Why is Maitland-Niles still here? They're surplus to requirements. They're surplus. That means we don't need them anymore. But you know what? Keith gave it an 8. Scott gave it a 6. I might crack into a smile if they bring in a midfield player. Tielemans, Paqueta, whoever the hell it is, get somebody else in, because we're going to touch on one of the later questions you put to us, sort of coming to, so I won't go into too much. But I'm with probably Scott at a 6. I'm not going to even go to a 7 until the window's done.
Yeah, and that brings us quite nicely onto the next question. Actually, as I said, nice, quick, easy question to start off with. And this is where things do get interesting, because we saw at the back end of last season, when we didn't strengthen in the right areas in January, how that potentially cost us a top 4 spot last season, because, not strengthening in the right areas. And don't get me wrong, the recruitment so far in terms of the ins has been good. We've brought some good players in. But coming back to you, Albert, as I said, there's about a month to go-ish. Rumours suggesting that Arsenal need to move players out now, or at least a couple, before bringing players in. What do you want to see from Arsenal in the remainder of this transfer window?
What I would like to see, which I haven't seen for years as an Arsenal fan, is recuperate some money.
Yeah.
First and foremost, what was their price talking about Leno going to Fulham? I heard 10 million?
Something like that, yeah.
I think that's ridiculous. We should be getting more for him. Absolutely. I don't care if it's Fulham. Make them pay more. Like 10 million. Are you crazy? This guy's what, 28, 29? Goalkeeper's not in their prime to like mid-30s, maybe even, probably mid-30s. Like, it's mad to me. But you know what? At least we got something. Because the Guendouzi one really ticked me off, man. Because I thought to myself, hold on a minute. This is a guy that Arsenal should minimum got 35 million for. Minimum.
Yeah.
So I know people want to sit here and have, parties and get out the bunting for the sort of hierarchy in terms of the players, but let's have it right, man. Like, there's still problems in terms of trying to move these players on and get monetary value for them. So that's what I want to see. And kind of touching on from the last question, really, what you would see, when you say what do you want to see from Arsenal this season, or because that's something a bit more later in the
No, just in the transfer window.
Okay.
What do you want to see from Arsenal in the transfer window? We'll get on to expectations at the end of that. I'm going to make note of everyone's answers as well, and bring it up with you privately at the end of the season. So, but you do make a good point about Guendouzi. I think Arsenal have somewhat learned, haven't they, a little bit, and it's always a little too late for me, because you are right, with a player like Guendouzi who broke into the national team at 21-22, high ceiling for potential. We know his attitude wasn't in the right place, but we could have easily have got 35-40 million pounds for him.
Easy.
And you look at the Tavares thing now, where he's gone out on loan for a year, and clubs like Atalanta were rumoured to want to have a buy option, and Arsenal know that there's a ceiling there potentially. We can't fall into that trap of Guendouzi again. Coming to you next, Scott. What do you want to see from Arsenal in this transfer window? Ins, outs, loans, you name it.
Look, there are a couple of those players on that outgoings list that I think really, really need to go. Torreira being one of them, because I could see him being potentially a problem in the dressing room if he's forced to stay. There are others who I think if they had to stay and see out their contract, I don't see them bringing the squad down. And this is a 5-sub season. We need to remember that this season there are 5 substitutes. There's a World Cup. There's AFCON after the World Cup. So there's a lot going on, and our squad depth is really going to be tested, as is everyone else's. So for me, what I want to see in the next month is a couple more players come in. I want a couple of those players on that list to be sold with priority. So for me, I think Bellerin has made it really clear he doesn't want to stay. So I think we need to get that sale done. Torreira is another one on that list who needs to go. The others, I'm not fussed. If we have to keep Leno as our second goalkeeper because we won't get anything decent for him, then so be it. So be it, because I do think he's better than Matt Turner. I'd also like to see a little bit of experience come into the team. We know that we brought in Jesus and Zinchenko, 2 guys who have plenty of experience and a title-winning mentality. But I do still think the squad is short of leaders. We're a young squad, and at times last season, particularly when push came to shove towards the back end, we really saw that the team did crumble in some of those high-pressure games. So I wouldn't mind a couple of experienced players to help come in and form part of that leadership group around Ødegaard, who has been announced captain. So bit of experience, couple of outgoings, and just more players. We need depth this season like you wouldn't believe. There's too much going on.
I completely agree. We've got an extra competition, especially if we do go far in that. We want to take it seriously. It's another route into the Champions League potentially. And, we've got a wonderful World Cup in the middle of our season, which should have been this summer. So, fatigue with players, squad depth is going to be absolutely key heading into this season. What are your thoughts, Keith? What do you want to see?
Scott's made a really good point there about the World Cup and the AFCON. And I was thinking about the World Cup earlier, and that's going to have a huge impact. Obviously, I want England to do well, go on and win it. But every other country that we represent, I want them to go out in the group stage so they can get back sharpish, because there's a real small gap between the end of the World Cup and getting straight back into the Premier League again. And these guys are flying back from the other side of the world. So that's going to have a huge impact, but I've digressed a little bit. But I would like to say I'm going to buy an absolute shitload of puffer jackets and patio heaters. So anyone wants to have a World Cup barbecue, get in touch and I'll flog you the kit. But having said that, what I want to see, we definitely need strengthening in the midfield. We don't want to be in a situation where we're relying on Xhaka and Mo El-Neni again. I love Mo. He'll run for a brick wall for us. He's not the best footballer in the world, but he's happy to be a squad player and he'll fill in when you need him to. But we need to
Keith.
Be looking beyond that with Tielemans.
One
I've always liked is Neves. I've been banging on about this all summer.
Yep.
I'd love to see us get Neves, but the price that they want for him is absolutely stupid. I agree with Albert. We're haggling with Fulham 10 million for Leno. Double that at least. We let old matey go to Aston Villa a couple of years ago for 20 million. And Leno, he's not a better keeper, but he's still got another 5, 6, 7 years in him. Look at when Man U bought Van der Sar from Fulham. He was like 33 when they bought him, and look at what he went on to do. So there's longevity there, but some of the players we need to get rid of, I agree. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Torreira, Bellerin, and the one that really interests me is Pepe. Now, I've so wanted Pepe to succeed, but when I watch him play, he looks scared. He's got this scared, narrow look on his face, and I just think the Premier League's not right for him. Yeah. But we don't want to sell him because we know we're not going to get 72 million back. We're going to probably be lucky to get 25 million.
Yeah,
and the club don't want to be put in that position in public. But he's another one we need to get rid of. But definitely, we just need to be stronger in every single department. We need 2 quality players of realistically of similar levels for each position, which we're getting there in certain departments, but we do look thin defensive midfield, and we need to address that. There are rumours that Schmeichel might be leaving Leicester, which would leave a gap for Leno to go in there, and he could be part of the deal for Tielemans.
Yeah,
whether that's the case, or I don't know, but that's what I want to see. And I know I've given it an 8 out.
Oh.
10, and but I want a 10 out of 10, and for a 10 out of 10 we need to get rid of players, and we need to bring a couple more in, because we've got lots more games to consider this year, and we'll be losing players for various tournaments as well.
Absolutely spot on. I think you've all brought up very valid points, and I think we can all agree that the window's been decent so far, but it's a long way from being perfect, and there's still a lot of work for the board and Arteta, Edu, all those good guys to be getting on with. And one thing that I wanted to touch on, and Scott, I don't think I've come to you yet first. So the business of our rivals. Everyone's opinion on who our rivals are will differ. I think we can all agree that Liverpool and City are in a mini league of their own. But outside of that, in my opinion, you guys might challenge this, but it's Chelsea, United, Spurs, and then potentially, depending on how they get on, you've got West Ham, who have strengthened quite well, and Newcastle, who have got a lot of money to spend now as well. Not necessarily just yet for Newcastle for me, but does it encourage you? Does it worry you? What are your thoughts, Scott?
I'll try and break it down very quickly, because there's a lot of teams in there. Like with where we are at the moment, who you consider as our big rivals can be a big issue. But with Spurs, we I'm sure can all agree on those guys.
Yeah,
that they concern me. I am very concerned about Spurs. Banter aside, I know we love to banter them, say they're irrelevant, but they've got a manager who's very relevant in Conte.
Yeah.
They've got a manager who was starting to get a real tune out of their team at the back end of the season. They've got 2 world-class players already in Son and Kane.
Agreed.
And they've strengthened. So they've brought in a lot of squad depth. So I think Conte's got the 5 subs in mind. They've continued to look really good. So that they worry me. Them having Conte for another year, I was kind of hoping after his blow up that it would all just go really badly. But it hasn't. So I am nervous about Spurs. I think they're really going to have a good season. Chelsea, I'm quite encouraged by what's going on over there, which is basically nothing. Koulibaly's a good signing, but they can't score goals. They can't score goals. So as long as they keep playing Werner up front, I'll have a big smile on my face. United are an unknown. Watch that. They played down under. They had a few preseason friendlies here. And a lot of friends were saying that they look like they had a much stronger identity. But it takes time. We know what it's like with a new manager. The gloss can wear off once the Premier League starts. So United, I'm nervous about. Spurs, I'm terrified about. Chelsea, loving it. And look, Liverpool and City, I don't think you need to say a lot because even though Liverpool had a dominating win, you can just see that those 2 clubs at the moment are levels ahead of everyone else in their development.
Absolutely. Very, very fair assessment of the 3 main rivals, I'd say, all challenging for 3 and 4 in the league. What about you, Keith? Coming to you next. What are your thoughts on the business of our rivals? Worried? Encouraged?
Firstly, what Scott said about the swamp dwellers down the road, because I was hoping that Conte would have done his usual and packed his bags and done one by now. But towards the back end of the season, I think Kulusevski was like a phenomenal signing for them.
They were.
Yeah.
Just didn't show up. But Man United, as Scott said, it's going to take time. They've got an incredible manager there. He's got a proven track record, and you can't pay too much credence to what happens in pre-season, because once the Premier League starts, it's an entirely different beast. But he does seem to have got them playing as a team as opposed to a bunch of glamorous individuals.
Yeah.
So they're the two that bother me most. Again, with Chelsea, I find Tuchel quite funny, actually, because he was banging on after we'd done them 4-0 that, his team wasn't prepared for the game. Well, that's on you, mate.
Yeah.
Once in a while, maybe pay a compliment to the team that's just turned you over, instead of belly aching about not being prepared for a game, because, who's in charge of preparing a team for pre-season tournaments? You. And I don't like the bloke. And he doesn't wear a suit when he gets to an FA Cup final. He wears a tracksuit, and that's not on. So don't do that ever again. But
hopefully they don't get there, Keith.
Sorry, Scott.
Let's hope they just never get to another one.
Well, yeah, that's amazing. But I think, kind of the same as Scott. Man United and Spurs are the ones that bother me. But me being the eternal optimist, and I'm always so optimistic before every game, so you ramp that up, times it by 10 for the start of the season, even though we're away at Palace first game under the lights, which is just getting Brentford vibes already about this. But I'm still really, really positive. And I think we will be top 4, or we will be in the Champions.
Ooh, just got the hang of it
at some point. But yeah, I'm saying it now. It's right here. I think we'll be in the top 4.
I'm going to ask you why about that a little bit later on in today's stream. We will be touching on everyone's expectations, wants and needs for this season. But finally coming to you, Albert, I hope the lads haven't taken away all the answers you had lined up for this question, because they've both been quite thorough. But how encouraged or worried are you about our rivals' business so far? Because that could change, of course.
Listen, I'm always right about rivals' business, man. Every season, man. This is nothing new to me.
Yeah.
Because where we've been as a club over quite a number of years in terms of each season, we know clubs are going to strengthen. Liverpool and Man City are in a different stratosphere, which we're nowhere near. I look at Chelsea. I know people mentioned about a goal scorer problem, but defensively, I think that was the most immediate thing they need to sort out, because they lost Christensen, they lost Rudiger. Chilwell's still out, I believe. I'm not sure what his injury situation is. So they've had a lot. Koulibaly's coming in. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on in the Premier League. I've not seen him play for a few years, but listen, from what I've seen over the years, he's a flipping good centre half.
Yeah,
and he will adapt. He will adapt. If he comes and struggles, JC comes and struggles, I'm not going to complain. But Sterling's a good signing for them. He's still young. He seems like he's been around for ages. He's still young. They've been linked.
That baffles me. That one does. Why no one else went in for him?
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. I think City are taking a bit of a small risk in terms of letting him go and Jesus. But listen, they've got a massive squad, Man City, and like I said, they're in a different stratosphere. But I mean, I heard the links with Chelsea there in terms of Wesley Fofana and Denzel Dumfries.
Yeah.
Now that would strengthen them considerably. I like Dumfries. I think he's a brilliant fullback. I would have drove him to Arsenal from Holland if I could at the time, but it was never going to happen. But we missed the boat with that one. Tottenham. The thing is, people go, but they got Champions League football. I don't think that's always the obvious answer to a question, man. Like, listen, like they got Fraser Forster on a free, Perisic was on a free.
Yeah,
Puma was dirt cheap, and we're not even going to get into that. Trust me, because listen, that's another conversation. Richarlison they paid a bit of money for, but we've got a world-class manager in Antonio Conte. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on actually. And as you guys mentioned, man, they still got a month left of the window, so all to play for, man. Chelsea ain't gonna. They're not gonna sit down and wait for a long, man. They will make their moves, believe me. They always do. United, I've said it before. Ten Hag's got the biggest job. 100% the biggest job.
Yeah,
1,000,000%. Again, they've got too many players that I would say similar to Arsenal that they need to move on, man. They absolutely need to move on. We'll see how it'd be interesting to see how the Ronaldo situation, how that pans out. But I think it's touch and go if he'll be there personally. But who's going to take him? Is he going to go back to Portugal? He's been in Italy. He's been in Spain. He ain't been to France yet, but I don't see that happening. But yeah, I'm always worried about what the other teams do, because I think what you got to bear in mind as well is like, and I banged on about this last season, but Arsenal fans are quite dismissive. I felt personally, where we had no European football. At the time we played West Ham United, they played 11 games more than us. That's almost 3 months worth of football. Complete squad. We've got European football back again. Other teams will have strengthened. So it'd be interesting to see what the dynamic's going to be. But listen, I'm always concerned what the other rivals do. But as long as our football club take care of the business in terms of who we bring in, that's the most important thing. Like I said, I'm not going to crack into a smile yet, mate. I'll reserve judgment.
Still a long way to go, as you said. Still a long way to go. And a lot of work to do for all of these teams mentioned, and a lot can change. And I'm going to come straight back to you on this next question, Albert. But before I do, a bit of an error on my part, just in case anyone was worrying why there are no comments popping up on the screen. A little bit of a technical issue on my part, which I'll make sure I'll get sorted for the next stream. So I'm not being ignorant and ignoring anyone at all. So don't worry, we will get into your comments in the next stream. So I do appreciate anyone sitting by and watching patiently. You'll get a chance next time round. But moving into our next question, and this one is one that is really interesting for me personally, because we've got a fairly decent sized squad and everyone's going to have their own opinion on players. So coming to you first, Albert. I want to know which 2 Arsenal players you're most looking forward to seeing next season. And I want you to pick one new signing so far and an existing player from last season. And just in case any players have gone out of thought, I've got a nice little squad list for everyone to take a little look at, just in case. I've dropped off a few players that are supposed to be leaving off this list. But coming to you first, Albert, which 2 players, one new signing and one player from the previous squad from last season, which 2 are you looking forward to most and why?
Yeah, I mean, he's not a new signing really, but he is, because we're not seeing him in an Arsenal shirt. That's William Saliba. That's to me, that's a no-brainer. Luckily, I've not seen most of the preseason, Jason. I'll be honest. I see when it's in Nuremberg in Germany. Yeah, I saw when they beat Everton. I stayed up and watched that one. But I must admit, from what I've seen of Saliba, and I was fortunate enough to go to the preseason game yesterday. As you know, I took my little nephew for his first Arsenal game. So that was great during the train strike period. Yeah, a longer journey than it should have been. But yeah, listen, man, this guy looks impressive, man. He does. I see he's the one player straight away off the bat. I was thinking, once we knew that this guy was coming back to Arsenal, once he confirmed it, all the stories could stop, and all the, myths and is he coming back? He's coming back. But he's the one person I must say I'm looking forward to seeing play. So I class him as a new signing personally. But
okay.
But no, I was impressed with what I saw yesterday. People say it's only pre-season, but I'm going to judge him on what I see. And I was impressed with what I saw. Existing player, he excites me anytime he's in the team sheet for me, and that's Martinelli. I didn't want to go off. He brings an energy and a fire and a spirit that I don't think many players in this Arsenal team do, if I'm being honest with you. That's just my own personal opinion. When I think about players that excite me, he does. Straight away at the top of my head. Martinelli. Yeah, it's going to be a big season for him. Listen, like people was, with the last couple of years, JC, he's had the injury and whatever. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I understand that. But he's not injured anymore.
No.
He's not playing. Like, we had this debate, whether I hate him or dislikes him. I don't care. Like, just let the guy play. And listen, he's got amazing talent. Got called up to the Brazil squad, was it last season now? He's ready to kick on, man. And listen, with the additions that have come to the team, and I've not even seen Fabio Vieira play yet, it's only going to enhance the likes of him and others. I'm not going to mention because we're going to probably talk about him. I don't want to steal Keith or Scott's thunder by they might mention the player, but yeah, it's only going to enhance with the players that have come and joined this club with a winning mentality, with 2 players in particular. So it'd be interesting to see how Martinelli gets on, and I want to see more of a goals return because he will get more game time. I think the one player, before I finish up, that might have to be worried a little bit is ESR.
Yeah.
100%.
No, I think you're spot on with ESR. We saw a lot of that towards the back end of last season. He fell out of the England national team. He didn't look like he could stay fit. And then when he was playing, he was only getting 30 minutes, 20 minutes, at the back end of games. But you are spot on about Martinelli as well. I think this year now, after having a full proper season, because his season before that, it was in and out due to fitness and whatever. But yeah, this is definitely his season to kick on now. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Scott, have you got a different two?
Yeah, I do. I like Albert's too, but I'm going to take the obvious one and make Keith's job a bit harder. I'll take Gabby Jesus. Obviously, one of the Gabbies. Look, going off preseason, and again, it's preseason, but you can only judge on what you've seen, and what I've seen from him has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's scored. What I like is that he's scored a range of goals. This preseason, he scored those real fox in the box poacher goals. He's scored some more exciting efforts. He's shown that individual flair. I'm really excited to see what he can do over the season. Another player I'm looking forward to watching play existing is Martin Odegaard. Now, him and I have kind of gone full circle. We've not always had the best relationship. Martin Odegaard and I was really underwhelmed initially. I was probably a little bit critical too. I just didn't think that he brought enough output to the table besides running around. And one of my big criticisms was that when the going got tough, I felt like he would kind of fall back into the game.
Yeah.
Now he's had a really good preseason. He's shown really good glimpses towards the back end of the year. And he's obviously been made our club captain. So
yes,
a captain's armband can be heavy. It can be really heavy. It can also make a player. It can really give a player a lift and a boost. And he does seem to me to be Arteta's man. Like Mikel Arteta's his on-field kind of tactician where he'll talk a lot. Yeah, it reminds me of watching Arteta with Wenger. Like they were always in conversation. It was always about the team. So I'm really, really hoping he has a huge season. I just want a little bit more output in terms of goals and assists. I know people throw stats around chances created and chances from open play. There's only one stat that matters, and that's the goals. So I want to see him creating goals or scoring goals because he is capable. I've come around to the point that I know he can do it. I just want to see it from him. So they're probably my two.
Two very exciting players. And I think you do make a very good point about Odegaard as well. And I think now having Jesus or Jesus, whichever way of the two that you pronounce it, in front of him with that movement. Go on.
Sorry, bro. Yeah, Scott, just to touch on Jesus. JC, we've had this conversation. I could not see the cons when this guy was linked with Arsenal. I don't understand our fan base or sections of our fan base. And his movement, I spoke to Daps, who's a Man City fan, right? Pep paid him in the big games. His pressing is incredible. His movement's fantastic. He gives you what Aubameyang didn't give you apart from the goals. 100%.
100%.
If Odegaard can't thrive off that, then we can't help him.
That's exactly the point. That is exactly the point. Spot on. And as you guys know, I did an interview with Ben Jacobs on the channel a few weeks ago. And he mentioned at the time, he said that if Jesus' goals were at Arsenal last season, Arsenal would have most likely made the top four. When you look at the return that we had from Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Nketiah, through no fault of his own, he wasn't played through whatever reason. We saw the minerals at the end of the season. But yeah, if we'd have had those goals at the end of the season, then 100% in my mind, we would have.
And the big difference is he's coming in at Arsenal as the main man. He wasn't the main man at Man City. And that's the biggest difference.
Oh, mate, I completely agree. And any Arsenal fans that are turning their nose up are absolutely mental. But whilst we've been talking, we've also given Keith some extra minutes to think about his two players. I do apologise, Keith, for coming to you last because these boys have taken 4 names off you now. So, who are your 2, mate?
Liam Brady and Tony Woodcock. No. I just wanted to what Albert was saying about Gabriel Jesus, which I believe Jesus or Jesus. I'm not sure what's the correct pronunciation, but there were loads of stats being thrown around. We all saw it like on Twitter and stuff. People like just belly aching about the deal and his scoring ratio. But when he had a run in the Manchester City team, he was scoring goals. He was a goal machine. And I know it was a friendly debut in front of full house. And his pressing game is absolutely phenomenal. Like Albert said, his work rate is just second to none. And he's just spent 5 years working with Pep Guardiola, and now he's working with Arteta. And we know how big they both are on work rate. So, but he's not the one I want to talk about. Actually, I was going to talk about William Saliba as an existing player. Now, I made a point of not watching him last season because I got fed up with like all the fanboys banging on about him last season. I don't watch French football, to be honest. But having watched him, I watched him in the Chelsea game. I watched him yesterday, and one of the things that struck me yesterday is his footballing IQ. There was a couple of times when Benny Blanco kind of put him in a spot, and the first time he just shuffled the ball with his right foot just to the side and bent one round to Gabriel, and then we moved it out to the left. It's things like that. Aside from his physical attributes and his speed and his strength, he just looks the part already. I mean, how old is he? What's it, 21?
Yeah, I think so, 21.
Yeah, and it turns, it looks like him going. I thought him going back to France for a season was a big mistake. I'd rather have seen him go Championship or someone like Newcastle, but it seems like a good move, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing it. It looks like it's going to be him and Gabriel in the middle, and Ben White will either be on the bench or on the right. But he absolutely looks the part. I'm excited to see what develops there.
Same.
And I mentioned Zinchenko earlier. I'm fairly certain once Tierney's back, I mean, it could be a straight up battle for left back. But having watched Zinchenko destroy Scotland for the Ukraine, playing as almost like a holding midfielder, stroke number 8 on the left hand side, I could see him next to Partey. And let's face it, Zinchenko is a massive upgrade on Xhaka, massive upgrade. And I really, really like the thought of seeing him alongside Partey or whoever else as central defensive midfielder. So yeah, they're the ones for me.
No, Zinchenko is an absolutely great signing for both the reasons that you mentioned. And I think Arteta and Edu, not just this window, but last summer as well, it's evident that he wants people that can play in a variety of positions, for that fluid system. On paper, it might be a 4-3-3 or a 5-2-3-1 or whatever. But realistically, it changes completely as the game goes on.
Yep.
And I suppose the last sort of big question before we get into some more simple answers from you boys this evening, and I'm going to come straight back to you, Keith, with regards to pre-season. Sometimes people get a little bit too excited about it, others not so much. Man United were guilty of this a few years ago. They went unbeaten for the whole of pre-season, and they had an absolute stinker to start with. But what I'm curious to know about is what's impressed you, who's impressed you, or not so much. And to help, I've got a nice little graphic for you.
Thanks, mate. No I'm not getting carried away. You can look at the last 2 games and we, forget Brentford. That's a closed doors game. I'm not interested in that. And we lost. But Chelsea and Sevilla, we're scored 10, conceded none. And they were both, they were strong sides, but it's still pre-season. It's still not going to be the same as being at Selhurst Park under the lights on Friday night. Let's make no bones about that. It's going to be entirely different. The thing that has impressed me, the thing that I've noticed is the first half, our press has been mental, absolutely mental, and the intensity. And I've always said that as long as passion that I do as a fan, that's my minimum requirement. You could be the best player in the world. I was never a big fan of Ozil because he never looked bothered. He was never really like getting stuck in against Stoke away on a cold February night. But I just want to see that they care as much as we do or as I do. And I'm seeing that. And it looks like the first half is all about the press, the mad press, really, really high up. And then it looks like when we come out for the second half, we kind of try to slow the pace down a little bit, first 10 minutes. And then we go in for a counter-attacking game. So it really feels like a game of two halves. Now, this I've noticed has happened quite a lot. So it can't just be that the players aren't listening to the boss in the dressing room at half-time. It seems like this is actually the game plan. High press first half, counter-attack second half. And thus far, it seems to be working, provided you get the results in the first half and you're not fell down when you go in, then obviously it falls down a little bit. But I would say the thing that has impressed me most has probably been the manager and the tactics from what I've seen. Same as Albert, I've not seen every game. I tried sitting up to watch the Chelsea game. I watched it in bits, other than falling asleep for 10 minutes at my desk and waking up again. And then I missed the entire last 20 minutes, so then I had to watch the highlights. But that's the one for me. The tactics, I think, have been pretty good.
You're right. I think that high press that you mentioned was very evident in the Chelsea game where we went 2-0 up quite early. And then again against Sevilla this weekend where it was 4-0 inside 19 minutes. Absolutely mental. And Albert, we'll come to you next because you were at the game yesterday with your nephew, as you mentioned. What's impressed you so far or not so much?
I've not seen. I've seen obviously I saw two of the preseason games, and obviously I went to the one yesterday. I think in terms of we talk about the high pressure, you've got to have the right. It comes down to you've got to have the right players to actually do it, and that's what it comes down to. It is as simple as that. So, I guess the thing that has impressed me, we touched on it in terms of the players, was Gabriel Jesus. Really, it's not that we didn't know he wasn't capable of doing that.
Yeah.
But happily for us, we're seeing it now in the Arsenal shirt. I just hope, he hasn't used all these goals in pre-season because we're going to need them in the league. And that's the most important thing. So he's impressed me. He has from what I've seen. Saka obviously looks sharp as he usually does. And the thing is, the likes of Saka and Ødegaard in particular, they've got a great link up and interchange play anyway. We saw evidence of that last season, but it's only going to enhance that with the likes of Jesus and the likes of Zinchenko coming. He'll fit in well at Arsenal, just character-wise, personality-wise, not just his footballing ability. He keeps touching it in terms of the way he played for the Ukraine. And that's the thing. I think if somebody said to me in terms of Zinchenko that he would have been a viable link in terms of someone coming to Arsenal, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd have thought, okay, that's interesting. But I think having seen him play for Ukraine in a completely different position, I thought, you know what? This guy's a proper footballer, man. And he would absolutely add not just depth, quality to Arsenal as well. So he is an upgrade, absolutely. So yeah, I guess Jesus has impressed me, and it'd be interesting to see obviously going into the season how we incorporate that high press in particular games, especially away from home.
Yeah, and we got caught out quite badly on a couple of occasions at the end of last season, namely against Palace, who we've got this Friday. Brighton was another case where they countered and bypassed that high press. So hopefully some changes have been made in pre-season. And Scott, I'm going to come to you next before I start making notes on the answers to the next three questions. But who's impressed you or what, or not so much?
Yeah, look, I've watched every pre-season game. I have to say the kickoff times have impressed me. It's been an absolute delight not getting out of bed at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m. A Sunday morning 9 a.m. kickoff has been beautiful. So the kickoff times are the real winner of pre-season and fans down under. But in all seriousness, I've been impressed by the goals. And I know that's such a basic answer, but towards the back end of last season, it was the goals letting us down. Besides some of the really key performances like Chelsea and United, the goals went missing. So to see us score so many goals in pre-season, and it's only pre-season, but that filled me with a bit of optimism ahead of the season. So been really impressed with that. Been really impressed with how quickly the new additions have gelled into the squad.
Yes.
And I think their extensive history with Arteta would have helped that, because they would have not had to adapt to him as a person and manager. They knew that when they came. So, yeah, look, the goals and the ease of transition for the new signings, to keep it really brief.
Yeah, and like you said, sometimes it is as simple as goals win games, and we just weren't doing it last season. Yes, it's only pre-season, but it's difficult not to get excited and sometimes a little bit carried away. But I think Keith mentioned it earlier on. Proof's in the pudding come Friday night under the lights at Selhurst Park is going to be a really, really tough fixture. Patrick Vieira seems to love playing against Arsenal, whether it's for the right or wrong reasons. But I'm going to come straight back to you, Scott, with this next question. Arsenal are involved in 4 competitions next season. As we've already touched on, unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to look at it, there's a World Cup in the middle. What are your expectations? Top 4, top 6, a Europa Cup final, FA Cup? What do you want?
I did stream last night with some other Arsenal fans, and this kind of question around expectations was a little bit of a heated debate. So let's see what comes here. But for me, my minimum, and I'm putting that word minimum in there because it is the absolute minimum I expect, is that we qualify for the Champions League. I'm not expecting us to be fighting City and Liverpool for the title yet, but I see a key stepping stone in getting there as being in the Champions League. I don't care how we get there. This is where I differed from some of the people I was on stream with last night.
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, mate, I think you need to be realistic when you have expectations.
Yeah.
Now, if we're winning the Europa League, that means we're going very deep in that competition. We're having those trickier fixtures at the end. So we're obviously going to need to shift some focus from the league.
Yeah.
If we win the Europa League and finish, 5th or 6th, so be it. And if we don't win the Europa League, but we finish top 4, so be it. I would be really disappointed to be knocked out of the Europa League early on and then finish 4th. I would still like to go deep in the tournament, but ultimately, Champions League or bust. That's the simple answer from me.
Yeah, and it's the natural next step. I have to agree with you. I think although, finishing in the top 4 and winning the Europa League, or finishing in the top 4 and winning a cup would be nice. But ultimately, for me as well, Champions League football is the aim. Coming to you next, Keith. How do you see things panning out? What are your expectations for next season, my friend?
Absolutely the same page as you and Scott. Champions League. Don't care how we get there. Personally, I do think we'll finish top 4. I've just got a hunch that we will. But if we don't, and we do it by winning the European trophy and then getting into the Champions League, it'd be even better if we were to do that and everything else convoluted itself and a certain other team would finish 4th and then they got turfed out. That would be absolutely amazing. Yeah, Champions League. My expectation for the last season was to be top 6, and we just about beat that, even though it was disappointing not to get Champions League. But yeah, that's it. Champions League. I think we've got a squad now, and hopefully with a couple more additions, that there's no reason why we shouldn't be looking at Champions League.
Completely agree. We're all on the same page. Finally, Albert, where do you stand, my friend?
Yeah, top 4, man. The thing is, how can I put this? So it's kind of gone out of my head. I was going to say now. No, the minimum. Yeah, top 4 is the minimum. I think that's what I was going to say. So Scott's right. I don't care how we get it. I think the only thing with the getting Champions League qualification via the Europa League is you're expecting Mikel Arteta to do something that no Arsenal manager's done since George Graham with an European trophy.
Yeah,
Wenger never done it, so it's not going to be a gimme, man.
No,
it still baffles me. Our club of our history's only won 2 European trophies. It troubles me, actually, to be honest. So we've seen over the years we're not good enough to get Champions League via the league, and I think what still kind of holds a lot of Arsenal fans back is last season, no European football, in a position to get in the Champions League with very minimal games to go, and they blow it.
Yeah,
it's very difficult to convince Arsenal fans otherwise. even with the transfer window that we've had so far, and there's still time to go. So, I think it's going to be tough, man. I think minimum I expect is top 4. If you ask me, will Arsenal get it? I'm not sure. I'm generally not sure, and that's even with potential players still coming in. I'm not sure. It's going to take. Yeah, ask me at Christmas, probably just after. I can give you probably a better explanation, a better answer, but I'm not sure of this side. As I've for many years, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I think there will still be a few people that will be questioning it. Going back to what we discussed earlier about the business of our rivals and whether or not it worries us, because they have strengthened and they will continue to strengthen. And I think the natural step next to progress as a football club is to get top 4. Don't get me wrong. I would personally be very happy if we got Champions League football next season through Europa League. But I wouldn't be happy if we still finished 5th or 6th. I wouldn't be happy about that. But it's that silver lining, pros and cons. But yeah, there'd be a lot of questions. There would be a lot of questions if we finished 6th and got into the Champions League. So next question. I'm going to come to you next, Keith. We've only got 2 questions left, so I'm not going to keep you guys for too much longer. Top 6 prediction for next season and your 3 for relegation. And I've got a graphic here for everyone to take a little look at, just in case any clubs were to slip the mind of any of you guys. So it was in the order
table on my phone because I couldn't remember who got promoted.
So this is in order of where everyone finished last season, barring the last 3 teams who have just been promoted from the Championship, of course. So are you going to differ from that first 6 there? What are your thoughts?
Yes, I am. I'm going to swap Chelsea for us. I think Man City will win the league again, especially with Haaland. I'm really, really excited. From a neutral and a football fan point of view, I'm interested to see what he does. I think he's got everything required to do what's necessary. And I know people are saying City have played with a false 9, but they've also played with an out-and-out number 9 before as well. So I think Man City, Liverpool, us, between Tottenham and Chelsea, and then Man U. Is that? Yeah, that's 6.
That's your top 6. Who are your bottom 3?
Bottom 3, I think Bournemouth, Fulham, and Southampton. I think Nottingham Forest have got enough to, from watching bits and pieces of them last season, especially when they literally turned us over last season. And I'm very, very disappointed that Jed Spencer's gone to the Swamp Dwellers, to be honest, because he looked the part. Yeah. He reminded me of a Thierry Henry at Monaco playing against Newcastle 20, 30 years ago. So, yeah, that's my bottom 3.
Okie dokie. I'll go next. So I'll give you 2 a few more minutes to think of your answers. So I'm also going to agree that
that's not fair, right? They get 2 minutes to think of their answers. I've got to think of players that they've already mentioned. I've got Tony Woodcock and Liam Brady.
He's looked off. I've upset.
He's gone. He's
Frank Gus Caesar as well, mate. Go Gus.
Gus Caesar. Love Gus.
So I'm going to agree with you, Keith, and say that City will win the league, Liverpool 2nd. I'm going to go Chelsea 3rd, Arsenal 4th, Spurs 5th, Man United 6th. And then my bottom 3 will be Fulham, Bournemouth, and Brentford. I just think Brentford might have a bit of that second season where, it's a bit too much for them and they'll eventually go down. They've lost Eriksen. I think they've lost a couple of other players as well. And I think it might just be a bit too much for them. I think Everton will be okay. Leeds will be okay because they were in and amongst it at the end of the season. So, Albert, we'll come to you next.
Yes. Right. Top 6. Ooh, this is what was tough for me wasn't even the Champions League places. It was who's going to win the league.
It is tough, especially after that Community Shield game.
My gut instinct probably City have got Alvarez as well as that's a different. It is a gamble. Losing Jesus and Sterling. It's lost a lot of goals, man. But I'm gonna get. I think Liverpool might actually nick it. Actually, I think they will. I think they might. They might. So Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea. I know people write them off, but listen, I think they'll get the 3rd. Tottenham, Arsenal. Wow. I'm gonna say we're gonna nick it. I'm not confident when I say that though, JC. So I'm gonna Arsenal 4th, Tottenham will miss out, and then Man United finish behind Tottenham.
And your bottom 3?
Bournemouth, Southampton, and Leeds. Leeds concede way too many goals, way too many, and I don't think you can iron that out in one season. I think there was fortunate to start last. I thought Everton were fortunate to start last season. Southampton went on a horrendous run. They looked like they was playing some good stuff under Haas and Hootel, and other they just fell off a cliff. And it's only because the teams that were worse below them they stayed up. Because I think Leeds and Southampton are in trouble this season. I'll be honest with you.
You make a good point about Leeds because their main man that kept everything together is gone, Calvin Phillips.
Yep.
Calvin Phillips, who I was gutted that Arsenal weren't sniffing around for, to be honest with you. But that's another
favourite midfielder in the world.
So that's another debate entirely. That. So Scott, I've given you the most time to think about your answer this time, and I'm going to give Keith the next amount of time, the most, for the final question.
Sounds fair. That sounds fair.
So, and I'm going to come straight back to you on the next one. So I'm going to hit you with it twice. So what's your top 6 and top bottom 3?
I don't want to get smashed in the comments, so I'm just going to put out there. I'm speaking neutral. I think Liverpool win the league. I think City, as Albert said, letting Sterling and Jesus go, I think that was too much in one window. You need all your new signings to really hit the ground running, and we'll have to wait and see. But I'm going to go Liverpool, City, Spurs. I actually think Spurs are going to be in and around that title race this year. It's not them that I respect; it's their manager. To kind of try and put a context on that, and I think we'll be 4th. I'm going to go with Manchester United in 5th and Chelsea in 6th. I feel like Chelsea signings may change this. There's still a month to go, but as it stands right now, I'm going Chelsea in 6th place. To go down, Leeds. I think Raphinha and Phillips are too big a loss. Everton, who I've watched a fair bit of in pre-season because they did play down here. I think they've been awful.
Everton fans will be worried, man. They should be. They should be worried.
Yeah.
And I'll probably say Bournemouth as well.
I love the fact that we've all gone for different answers, especially 3rd, 4th, top 6 and bottom 3. I think we can all agree the top 2 is just there's not even much point in talking about it. But the rest of it is definitely very much opinion based. And then to finish up the show before you guys say goodbye for the evening, fantastic guests. And I'm going to come back to you straight away on this one, Scott. We have got a list of games. I will bring it up. I will bring it up for everyone just in case anyone is wondering. So those are our fixtures for August. Quite a few 5:30 kickoffs. These things sometimes change because of broadcasting. I hope they don't. 3 home games, 2 away games, 15 points available. What is your point prediction for August?
15. I think we're better than all of those teams. And I'm hoping we can hit that 15. I don't see anyone there that makes me too nervous.
Fair. Very, very straightforward. Straight out of the gates, no messing about. Love it. I'll go next. Still going to give you the most time, Keith. Don't worry. I'm going to go 10 points. I'm going to go 3 wins, a draw, and a loss. Don't get me wrong. I think Arsenal have been very good in pre-season. I do still think that the lack of depth in certain areas could come back to bite us. And I think what will be really key for Arsenal, when you look at some of those teams that we're playing in the early stages of this season, most of them play low block counter-attacking football, which we've struggled with whilst Arteta has been in charge. And don't get me wrong, I think he's come on leaps and bounds in terms of how to unlock these teams. But I just think that maybe in there might be a sneaky little defeat just off the back of the way we played football at the back end of last season. I'd love 15 points. Don't get me wrong; that'd be amazing. But yeah, I'm gonna go 10. Albert, coming to you next.
This might surprise people with my prediction. 13 out of 15. We'll draw up Palace. We'll draw up Palace and win the other games.
Like it. Very, very, very positive. I'm normally the most positive, and I've gone for the least amount of points so far. So.
I mean, 13 was a lot for me, to be honest. But I looked at it. Yeah, listen, JC, you're right though. I can easily see a loss of one of them games, easily.
Yeah,
with this Arsenal team. But looking at the fixtures, it's interesting, very interesting. But 13 out of 15.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be. I don't know. I haven't checked the fixtures in terms of whether or not there's going to be any other competitions thrown in there that early in the season, because I know the season was brought forward because of the World Cup, and sometimes early doors you get the odd cup game or Europa League game or whatever else. But Keith, coming to you finally before we wrap up for the evening, what is your points prediction for August?
All right, you let me go last to give me a chance. Right, I was thinking about this one this afternoon. I already knew, and now it just feels like I've copied Albert's homework, because that was what I was thinking. I think even though, like I said earlier, I'm like always super optimistic for a game at the start of the season, I'm really not looking forward to Selhurst Park under the lights for this game of the season. I'm not looking forward to that. I think if we get a draw there, I'll be happy with that, and I think we should win the other 4. But I entirely agree with what you were saying about when we're playing against counter-attacking teams, we've struggled. I'm hoping that Arteta's learned a bit more. He's got better personnel in, and the personnel that were there originally are learning more. We don't much on the bounce to Crystal Palace, Brighton, and I can't remember who the other one was, but it happened twice last season. Crystal Palace and Brighton were always involved. We went on this losing run. Yeah, we need to get over that. But I agree with Albert entirely. 13 points. I hope Scott's right, though. I really hope Scott's right.
Same. I think we all hope Scott's right.
Yeah, come on, Scott. We easy to be right, man.
Yes.
If only my wife spoke the same way.
Well, look, that is going to about wrap things up for this evening. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed your company, and I can't wait to get you all on again in the future for this new series on the channel. And I promise to anyone who's watching either live or back as a video, I will make sure we get comments fixed so you guys can field some questions to the panel as well. But each of these fine gentlemen have their own social pages and Twitter pages as well. Starting with you, Scott, tell the people where they can find you and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Besides making outlandish predictions about 15 points, I co-host a Premier League podcast with a Chelsea and the United fan.
Very good.
Always good fun with those boys. We do that twice a week, and I know that the link is in the description. So any subs, any support would be greatly appreciated. And my Twitter's on there as well. You can, I'm there, happy to interact, always happy to chat with people too. So hit me up. Let's talk.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Scott. Really, really do appreciate your company this evening. And Keith, what about yourself?
Well, as you all know, I spend entirely way too much time on Twitter, so you can find me on there at the Mad Rambling one. I'm literally always there, mostly when I'm supposed to be working. But I've also got a channel, as it says on the nameplate there, MostlyArsenal. I branded much of the same sort of stuff, but if you like swearing and stupid stories and a little bit of football and what have you, then have a look at that. But I think definitely have a look at obviously Arsenal Analysed, because you're here, Albert's channel and Scott's podcast as well, because they're all absolutely brilliant.
What's love, bro?
Perfect. Pleasure for your company this evening, Keith. And last but by no means least, we have Albert as well, who's done very well. Recently hit 1,000 subs on your channel, I believe.
I have, man. Thank you, man. It's been
really deserved.
As I said, no, much love, man. It's been an interesting couple of years, man. I'll say that for definite. But no, much love to the support for that, man. But firstly, to you, JC, man, massive stuff getting Ben Jacobs on and getting Charles Watts on. Listen, bruv, next one, get Unseen on there, man. Get him on there, bro. It could happen, man. Make it happen, bro.
I'll try my best. I'll see what I can do.
But no, thanks for the plug, man. AlbertJTV people, you can see anything coming up. Yeah, I might be on somebody else's channel to talk about our amazing lionesses, obviously, and
yes,
I'll be back with a couple of transfer shows. I've delayed it for obvious reasons, but I will get a couple in. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, thanks for the plug, mate. Come and subscribe, people, to everybody's channel, man.
Perfect stuff. A pleasure for your company as well. All the details down in the description for each of these guys' channels. So go and subscribe. Don't even think about it. As Albert says on his channel, just go and do it. But that is going to about wrap things up for this evening. So thank you all for watching. Drop a like, subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care and stay safe.